What do varying people and triangles have to do with leadership? Hi, I'm Laura Hanson Brexley, and I love to talk to people who put time, energy, and talents into what they believe. Welcome to Intent on Purpose. Today's guest, Barry Rellaford of the Center for the Empowerment Dynamic, tells us about varying people, triangles, and questions, and how you can be a creator of the life and business you want and that will last. It's great to have him here. Hello, Barry.
Hello, Laura. Great to be here.
I want to know exactly what it is you do and to help people be better leaders.
I don't know if I do that much, but I do the same thing you do. You Laura people, and I bury people. When I tell people that, they go, "Oh, are you a mortician?" I say, "Oh, no, no, it's my name." I said, so if I'm working with an individual, I don't know, you might call it coaching or mentoring, something like that. But I'm thinking I'm just burying them. So the company's actually called Seven Generations Leadership. It's named for a Native American tradition that when you're making decisions, consider their impact on the next seven generations. And the company we bought has the intellectual property or the content from a good friend of mine, David Emerald Wammeldorf, and his business partner, Donna Zajan. And they had run their company for about 20 years. They were getting to a point where age wise, they were saying, we're not going to live forever. So they were, and I've been friends. They were actually one of my clients for a while, and I was helping them, figure out what to do with it. And one of my sons has been looking for a company to purchase. We all got together. It all worked out. And partway through the process, David passed away suddenly last year. So it was like, oh, should we do this? Is this a still wise thing to do? Yeah, let's do this. My son Daniel and I, Donna, and then a fourth partner, David's best friend, his name's Jim, we call it the stewardship group because we really feel like for this particular business, we're stewards of work that David helped create. And then we're building upon that. If he's the first generation, my son Daniel is really the second generation. And we are looking to build an organization that will endure and help. And that the work is all about helping people focus on positive outcomes that they're seeking to create and to get out of interpersonal drama. Yeah, we're looking to continue to, many times, if you look at the average Fortune 500 company in America today, or Fortune 1000 globally, most of them don't last more than about 30 years. We live in they get acquired. That some will go out of business, but many times they get acquired by someone else, and there's these big roll-ups, and industries get replaced with newer technologies or different changes in regulation or markets. So the vision of having a company that would last, if a generation's 20 years, something would last 140 years or more, is kind of unusual in American business. People say they want to do it, but I don't think they design for it. And our goal, we're not just looking to do quick hit work and just on to the next thing. We would rather have fewer, deeper client relationships where those clients are doing deeper, more important work for all of their stakeholders, not just for their customers or patients or students, but for everyone that they're touching, the people who work and provide the services or products, their suppliers, for their regulators, all their different stakeholders, communities in which they operate. So that's our intention, is to be able to uh, take this work that David started and continue on and continue to add and build on that.
So this might be a far out question,
No, go
but
ahead.
how does that compare? Perhaps the times have changed dramatically, but you have Hershey's, you have Heinz, you have companies that have lasted for that long, but times have changed. So what's the difference?
Well, part of it is looking at size and scale. There's a research in a book called Small Giants. It came out, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe. I don't remember. Bo Burlingham, who was an editor at large with Inc. magazine, published the book. And I think he has 11 companies in there that he looked at. And these are, the subtitle of the book is Companies That Chose to Be Great Rather Than Big. And so often what business kind of say, we got to get bigger, got to get bigger, got to do this. And yet, uh, too often, I think in doing that, people lose sight of what was the founding intention. Who are the people that or organizations you were seeking to serve? And I think there's going to be, I'm seeing, I don't know, backlash is the right word, but a swinging back of the pendulum. And I have worked long enough to see many swings back and forth, organizations centralizing, decentralizing, you know, sticking to their core, going into holding. There's lots of things that go on. I think some of what's going on right now, I do believe there is, I know I'm seeing trends of kind of division, lots of division and polarization. But I believe that people politically and elsewhere are saying, like, hey, look, we don't want to live like this. We don't want to be with each other this way. And as we're truer, the, yeah, we think there's a market out there big enough. It doesn't have to be huge, but a big enough market to sustain us and that people will continue to benefit from the work that David and Donna started 20 years ago and beyond. So it's, yeah, maybe we're wrong. We may find that we were not able to help this thing grow. That's a possibility, but what we're committed to and our probability that we're seeking to create is an organization that grows and that is able to serve more people, more organizations. A lot of my career has been in the leader development space. So I worked at Franklin Covey, which is one of, if not the largest, one of the major players in the leadership development space. And I've had several other companies that have been either clients or that I've done work with. And again, it's an industry I've been in for most of my career. I love being part of it. And we could look at these other companies. We're much smaller than a lot of the other major brands and players. And we could say, oh, these are our competitors. But I do not look at it this way. Talk with organizations. It's like, hey, you're working with Arbinger, or you're working with Inside Out, or you're working with DD, whoever. It's like, good for you. That's great. You're investing in the people that you work with. You're wanting to make a better organization that works for people and for all your stakeholders. Great. We'd love to work with you if you think that we can serve your needs. And yeah, you might have to choose between us and somebody else, but it's not about why we're so much better than them. It's like, it's a bigger circle. It's saying, like, hey, look, I just want to applaud you, support you, and the choice you're making to help yourself and others grow. Great. And if we can help with that, great. So again, it's more of what Stephen Covey called an abundance mentality than a scarcity mentality. And again, we don't have to be, I don't know what Franklin Covey's sales are. They're definitely probably north of $300 million or something. Big, big company. I don't see us becoming that. I'm not sure I'd want to manage or be, involved in all that it takes to be able to grow to and maintain that size. But it doesn't mean either that we can't be of benefit to our, to somebody, enough somebodies that we're helping them perform their great work and be true.
When you're talking about training individuals and all these leadership programs, they're amazing. All these leadership books, your company. Why are we not natural leaders? We want to lead. We join organizations to lead. We're hired to lead. Why isn't it that we don't have confidence and skills more naturally?
Well, there's research actually that speaks to how come people the lack of confidence sometimes is people don't want to appear domineering. Is that, hey, well, we're probably no, I can think of some people who really are into being domineering, but average person's kind of like, hey, look, I want to be exerting my will on people or telling them what to do, so I don't want to be seen that way. They don't want to stand out in a sense of being, different, so they don't want to feel like, hey, I don't fit in. I want to belong to the group. And so being the leader, sometimes it's experiences that they've had where it didn't work out well. They weren't, and I don't, training, I often think about as something for animals. For people, I think about equipping and inspiring.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
so providing tools is providing, sometimes it's our thinking, a framework. They go like, well, I hadn't thought about it that way. So, um, I believe at a minimum, people need to lead their own lives, take responsibility. I believe a lot in agency, that we have the ability to choose, but combined with that is accountability or responsibility for the choices I make. It's not like, you can't tell me what to do. It's like, Well, I can choose what I do, and I need to be aware of the impact of those choices on others and be wise about that and say like, "Oh, this is the outcome or impact I want," versus I didn't think that could happen.
That's a whole different vision, and I like that better than training. You do train a
Yeah, I mean, I look
dog.
at like a podcast like this, Laura. You have an intention. There's people you want to really work with and help, help them tell their story, share what they're learning. Yet to be able to do this, you've got people need to have a certain amount of technology. You've got all these other, you've got to be able to broadcast it and post it in certain places. There's certain competence that comes with that. And again, you've gone and gotten yourself equipped to be able to learn how to do all this, but also there's a certain amount of gear and software and other things that make it possible. And I look at the same kind of thing is that it's great if we have an intention. That's really important, or desire. Yet we've also got to go figure out, okay, so how do I do this? How do I bring this into reality? So a lot of what we do through the work we do in this company is helping people see themselves as creators and going out and creating desired outcomes.
What is the mission statement?
Um, frankly, we took responsibility for this company about 3 months ago, and there's a posted one. I've read it. Right now we're trying to just I'm joking about keeping the doors, but we're moving from kind of stability to success. This is a going concern, got clients, a lot of good things going, but it's like we've been focusing more on how do we get this to grow than, oh boy. And the mission statement is probably something around, equipping people to be creators and to achieve desired outcomes. I don't know if that's the exact thing, but it's getting people out of drama, interpersonal drama. So I bet there's much better ones I'm using, but that's the intention or thought.
Well, it's pretty good. Creators instead of consumers of life, right?
Yeah, or victims. I mean, and again, that's
Oh,
very
fiction. Yeah.
which, yeah, the source of the work back in the 1970s, there's a psychologist named Stephen Karpman who created something called the drama triangle. And
Mm.
Dr. Karp was really into theater and drama, and he described these roles. We may realize that a role is a part we play, yet many of these roles that we play in our interactions with each other we're not saying like, oh, I'm going to go be a victim. It's that there's a role called a persecutor, or you could think about as a victimizer. Could be another person. Oftentimes it's a situation, could be a health condition, circumstance that, is putting me down. And I feel like I'm victimized, and people get victimized. I don't want to minimize anyone's experience. There are true victims. Instead of just being victimized, we might move into victimhood, and we start to identify ourselves like I'm powerless. I'm hopeless. There's no way forward. And these beliefs we start to live in a sense in a false way. And what we're often looking for is, oh, how do I get out of this situation or away from this persecutor? And we're looking for a rescuer. And yeah, we want help. Rescuer often in other frameworks will be called a hero. And it's like they're going to ride in on their white horse and save us from ourselves or the situation. Where the um, rescuer is really not helping, is that they're keeping us in a kind of a victim or powerless state
Mhm.
by seeing us as not, hey, if it weren't for me, you'd be kind of stuck. And so there is some psychic reward that comes from that. So this can be a wicked spin, and we call it a dynamic because we kind of move through these roles. David, who wrote a book called The Power of TED. TED stands for the Empowerment Dynamic. It's somewhat autobiographical. It's a teaching story, but in this, he tells of where he was feeling like a victim himself. His father, whom he was very close to, had recently passed away, and his marriage had fallen apart because he found out he was infertile. And he and his wife wanted to have children, and because he could not father children, their marriage. I think there were probably other things, but so he was in therapy. He's learning about the trauma triangle. He's going like, yeah, life's tough, and he said one morning he's meditating or maybe even praying, and he's like, what is the antidote to being a victim? And this one word appears in his mind, and it's the word creator. And it just stunned him. It's like, I can be a creator. And he took that to heart and really focused on what he could use, his agency, his ability to choose and be responsible. And, it helped him get out of that drama. And then over time, he developed what he calls the empowerment dynamic, which is how do we, it's not that we're always going to be out of drama. And there's things that drama can help us with. It's not, we do get protected from some
Mm.
things, but it's how can we really go create the life, the relationships, the world that we want to be part of?
And you do have to be equipped with that because you do tend to back up someone else's fault. I make a mistake because someone else didn't give me the information. It's more comfortable in accepting responsibility for your own misery. Staying in your own misery can be more comfortable because fixing it takes pain.
You described it very, very well, Laura. And we find as we share this with people, um, it's not that these ideas are so revolutionary, it's that people didn't have a language. And then when they start to see the pattern going like, oh, this is me, they get it. And there's like, oh, well, how do I get out of it? And what you're describing as the victim role or the powerlessness, extremely well done. But sometimes people will get combative and it's like, hey, look, you're not going to take advantage or I'm going to go fight. We've got kind of flight here. This fight, and it's gonna like, I'm gonna get mine. And this can get into shooting. And it's like, hey, look, no, nobody's taking advantage. I'm gonna go seize that for myself. Or we can be more of a, hey, well, please enough people these things, smooth it over. It's all gonna be okay. We're not gonna have this conflict or this anxiety that I'm feeling. And so these three roles, we often will play them all. We may prefer one over the others, and they often begin very early in our lives. Often in the family circumstance that we grow up in, we pick up these roles again unconsciously. Nobody's sitting there deliberately going, okay, which of these three am I going to pick? It's just more of reacting or responding. And part of it's is we don't see there's another way, there's another game to play here. There's another strategy,
Mhm.
and that's what I'm going to choose.
I can see that in business because people will blame the weather for the sales or lots of things except for their own hard work
Yeah, and
or if they gave up. I can see that. Like I have a company called Brexel Learning LLC,
uh-huh.
and my products are on my blog and this podcast and hopefully presentations later on. But I can see those presentations happening later. I've got to get this podcast off the ground. I've given myself lots of time. And I see it's me having to have a quality product. But I have time. I'm not stressed. I don't have to have the money to live. But I could blame a lot of things if I fail. And I can see how people could blame a lot of things except for themselves for failing. Am I right in that people do that? That's one of the things you equip with people is like, nah, you might have put more effort into that, except
Yeah,
blaming
so
the
there's
weather.
yeah, just like there are three roles in the downward triangle, the kind of the what we call the dreaded drama triangle, the DDT. There's an upward that the empowerment dynamic, or TED for short, is looking at a triangle where we got at the apex of it, yes, I'm a creator. I choose. And you know what? So are you, Laura. So is everybody listening to this. Everybody interact with the creator. Now they may be showing up or feeling it's like, yeah, and me labeling them as a victim usually doesn't help them very much. Seeing it in myself going like, hold it, I am walking away from my agency. I'm acting like all my outside circumstances are dictating how I respond. I have a choice here. I'm going to be more powerful, empower myself, and I can empower others. And two other roles we can look at, and in the upper triangle, there are less roles as strategies, but saying, okay, I can create what are the desired outcomes I have here in this relationship, this situation. And the two other roles are to be a coach, which is much more about inquiry and questions, asking and understanding and helping the person understand what is it they really want as well, and challenging. So obviously a coach is different than being a rescuer, and being a challenger is different than being a, and we can challenge people literally go, hey, have you considered this? Here's an option. What about trying this out? I can also be believing in them and saying, like, no, Laura, you can do this. You can have a great podcast and be able to create great products for your clients. And let's talk about how you can do that. So that it shifts our energy from being kind of inward or draining to kind of being more upward and expanding and tying into a lot of the energy that exists around us. And I'll bet you've had this experience, Laura. I have. You read a book and it's like, bam, wow. I've gone to workshops or heard speakers where, um, and I've had people say, like, boy, Barry, your workshop changed my life. And I'm like, that's really kind. It's really more of a timing thing, I find. And there's a quote from Zen Buddhism I really like, said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I used to think, well, I'm going to be the teacher. No, no, it's like sometimes I happen to be the person that, oh, here, this is somebody listening to this may say, like, wow, that Barry knows his stuff. It's really more about the person going, like, hey, here's somebody who relayed a message that I was ready to receive. And that's something each of us can work on. Sometimes, and again, I'm an executive coach. I train coaches as well. We do some of that through our company. Is helping, and I work at a university as well, helping students become coaches and to coach each other. It's a fabulous opportunity. So yeah, I believe in walking with someone to help them achieve. It's a great. Everyone can benefit from that. Yet, I also found that there's things we can learn and grow and do on our own as well. And it's just, again, more receptivity and can be the God, the universe, whatever we ascribe it to, of being able to say that, yeah, yeah, I'm going to do that. Like, great. Does that help, Laura?
And I think it makes a real difference to get off the couch and stop criticizing other people and get up and do what you live, do what you know you should do. And that takes a lot of the creativity that you're talking about. It takes a lot of gumption and getting over a lot of fear to actually try it and actually do it because it's so, like it's a lot more comfortable to criticize others and to sit around and just dream about things and think about things other than really getting out there or to stay in that comfort zone, to stay in the victimhood and not say, okay, I'm going to get past this. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say, okay, it really is my fault. I can do better. It might be slow. It might take baby steps, but I can do better. So,
You
what would
actually
you
use
say to someone like
terms.
that? Hmm?
We used a term. We actually talk about baby steps. That is a key thing. Some of our work, particularly in organizations, we call 3 vital questions. The idea of vital is much like vital signs that you have in our bodies. You go see your physician. They're going to measure your weight, your heart rate, other things, the vital signs. We find that 3 vital things people have. The first vital question is, where are you focused? And are you focused on problems, things you have that you don't want? Or are you focused on outcomes, desired outcomes, things you want that you don't have? That makes a huge difference of being able to just start to develop the habit of going, like, what do I want? Where am I focused? That huge. The second is, how am I relating? Am I relating in drama? Am I caught up in drama? And guess what? If you're focused on problems, you're going to be in drama a lot more than if you're focused on outcomes, you're going to be more empowered. That kind of, instead of pushing, it's not about only willpower, it's letting that desired outcome pull you. It's like, I really do want that. It really is possible. And the third question is, what actions are you taking? And one of the things we look at is, what are the baby steps? So we'll have people stand in the future. Okay, if you achieve this desired outcome, what's your current reality? And look at it very realistically, not horribilizing, oh, everything's terrible, or glamorizing, oh, everything's great. Realizing, yeah, there's some good things. And what are the things that are supporting where you're at? And what are the things that are inhibiting? And what baby steps can you take to get to your desired outcome? It's called dynamic tension. So again, I don't want to teach the whole workshop here for you, but it's
Well, you could, but
really this simple. It's really this simple. Is and frankly, what we teach is, yeah, we've got some unique frameworks and approaches. Yet the principles, there are many others, which is where I say we're collaborators. We're not competitors who are teaching that as well. And it may even be something like, I don't know, learning a language like a Romance language. Yeah, it's French or Spanish or Italian or Romanian. They're related. They're different, but they're also related. And the same thing, I find the books, the coaches, the speakers, workshops that I prefer tend to have a lot of the similar kinds of principles, but it's like, oh, I hadn't heard it that way, or I hadn't thought about it that, or that super helpful. I know that's a correct principle. I just didn't know how to express it. Oh, thank you. Most people are often looking like, hey, well, how do I create a company that's going to help? Some people are doing it built to flip. I'm going to go build a company. I'm going to sell it in 3 years, some digital, whatever. It's like, and then go buy something else. Or it's like, cool. It's not immoral. Um, we're looking at how do we work with principles, people that are enduring, that are lasting. What and to have there are companies that have been around for 500 years, 1,000 years. There are very few, but they're around. Usually not in America. America's only what we're coming up on our 250th anniversary this year. Canada's a pretty young country. When you look at uh, even the UK, look at a lot of these European countries. But I've worked with Asian companies where some of them have been around for hundreds of years. They plan. I was the CEO of a very large they've got 100-year plan. That is very different than American business where we're living quarter to quarter, or startups where it's like get enough eyeballs and attract enough and then we'll sell it to somebody. Or it's like, it's just, again, we're just trying to be more deliberate to say, hey, if you're interested, if you're an organization or person who's looking at legacy of wanting to build enduring impact with your stakeholders, we probably will be a better fit for each other than somebody's like, hey, look, I got to get results now, now, now. It's like, we'll help you get results in the short term, but we're much more interested in who are you becoming? What kind of impact in the world? What is your purpose? What is your passion? And can we help you achieve that?
Where can we find you?
We're easiest to find as the Center for the Empowerment Dynamic. And so I think our website is theempowermentdynamic.com is where you can find this work. The other work I'm doing, working on a book called Being True. It's very tied into this, but it's really more of how do we choose to be who we really are? How do you go Laura the world? How do I bury the world? And to let go of those early responses we learned, some of these things that where we're fallen or sometimes even false, and we're not showing up as who we really are. But I'm not that hard to track down. So I'm on the internet and, you know,
Find you. We'll
yeah,
find
people
you.
can. And
All right.
finally, Laura, I really trust, we call it the law of attraction or a greater force in the universe or spirit, but is that um, we find each other. We connect with each other. And so if what I'm sharing today is of benefit to a listener, I encourage you to, The Power of TED is the book that we most well known for, but Three Vital Questions. Those are both very readily available, all kinds of formats. But yeah, we're just glad to serve, glad to help.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you, Laura. Have a wonderful day. Happy trails.
5 takeaways from Barry Rellaford. Leadership starts with a choice. Are you choosing to hand over your failures or successes to someone else or something else? Or owning up, or even taking credit? You can stay focused on problems, or you can step up into the role of creator and focus on outcomes you want to build. Take small, consistent baby steps. When you know where you want to go, start small, value based steps headed in the right direction. Lead for the long haul. Be value driven. Think generations ahead. Don't think checklist, think pedigree charts. Choose to be a creator and equip yourself with the skills to be successful at creating the business and life you want.